Hello and welcome to the second one of these 1 minute monologue or dialogue videos. It's very hard to remember what I titled these things. Anyway, the first one was Toy Story, a very easy and nice one to start with. The second one, less so. This one is responding to a request, actually, for the 2002 film Equilibrium. The scene itself is Sean Bean's in an abandoned church and Christian Bale walks in and Sean's just sat there, just casually reading Yeats, which to me means to lob something, because apparently I'm uncultured as f***. The monologue I'm going to do happens, and Sean Bean gets up, walks away, and survives the entire... No, that doesn't happen. What actually happens is Christian Bale blows a hole in an old church pew via a book and Sean Bean's face, using bullets. Because everything Sean Bean must die. Right? Anywho, I'm going to stop rambling now and get on with learning the scene. I've professionally set up a tripod and I will then perform to camera because that's what this is all about, right? Okay, back with you in a few. Right, that's the best I can do. Every other position my phone has fallen over. Every other position the lighting's either too much or too little. So here I am in front of like Colonel Mustard, Captain Kirk, orange colour, and no lighting. So it might sound terrible, it might look terrible, so I'm going to have to really pull this performance out the back. The actual shot itself, if I'm looking at it rightly, that hat is really off-putting for the thing. It's actually dimmed down and darker for what's about to happen, which is Sean Bean's about to have a hole put through his face several times, and this acts as the catalyst for Christian Bale's whole character arc for the rest of the film. I don't have any of the moody lighting or music or any of that. I just have me. So I'm just gonna get into it, I guess, and also remember that my eyeline is not up here, it's there, because I've been rehearsing the whole thing looking high as if I'm looking up at somebody standing over me like a dwarf. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Okay, let's get started. You always knew. But I've been poor. Of only my dreams. I've spread my dreams beneath your feet. So tread softly, for you're treading on my dreams. I assume you dream, Preston. We both know. They never go easy. No, you're not. You don't even know the meaning. It's just a visual word for a feeling you've never felt. Don't you see, Preston? He's gone. Everything that makes us what we are. Traded away. What is it that you think we do? A heavy cost. I'd pay it gladly. I think I could have done that a bit better, but with the limited amount of time that I give myself to rehearse and memorize these things, it's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst. When I was rehearsing, reading the thing there, actually reading the script and writing it out, I got every single line wrong, and that one where he's saying everything that makes us what we are, I could not fathom. I could not fathom it at all. My brain just didn't allow it, and the pacing for the visual word for a feeling you never felt, the way Sean Bean says it, it's just, he does it really well. That's the only thing I've got to say.
It's just a vestigial word for a feeling you've never felt.
He does it really well. As in the format of this thing, now I have to go off and figure out a way to play this differently. The only problem is this is, I'm going to say, pretty much the perfect way of playing the scene. It's shot well, it's said well, it's done well for what it's about to be. So this is going to be quite a big challenge for me. I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to have to go away and figure it out. Now the big question is where to film this, because as you can see, My house isn't exactly great for filming things in. Right, so I managed to rig something up that involves 2 bobbles, some step ladders, and a corkscrew that I managed to get out of a Christmas cracker. This is about as much space as I have, and looking at it, I could have actually done the first one performing here. It's just this idea has only just come to me. So, hey. Anyway, prepare for the reimagining of that scene. Not gonna lie, I've had a couple of attempts trying to figure this out. Also, the noise coming from outside, it's I ain't real to cancel that out, it's just constant. But now this is the reimagining, so I'm gonna go with that. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna wing it and see where it goes. I think, though, I'm gonna do opposite to Sean Bean's performance, which is well, from him being good to me being bad. No, that's not what I mean. I'm just gonna see what I can pull out the bag and just do it. Alright. How to play this? I could go extreme sad. Let's try that. Always new. I, being poor, have nothing but my dreams. And I've laid my dreams beneath your feet. Tread softly. Because you tread on my dreams. I assume you dream, Preston. But no. We both know they never go easy. No. No, you're not. You don't even know the meaning of the word. For you, it's a visual word for a feeling you've never felt. Don't you see, Preston? Don't you see, Preston? It's gone. Everything that made us what we are has been traded away. What is it that you think we do? A heavy cost. I'll gladly pay it. Right, so my phone died, and now it's a day later. I've had a shave, I've combed my hair a bit more, and I'm, well, as you can see, wearing completely different clothes. So, yeah, it's a new day, but luckily I got the dialogues done. So, I hope you enjoyed them, and I actually enjoyed doing that one. Like I said, I think Sean Bean nailed it. Don't often get to say that about Sean Bean. It's usually something like, it's a bit too Yorkshire or something like that. But no, I think it just fit perfectly into that role. Not because it died, but because of how he just tied that scene together. It was just great. I hope you enjoyed that dialogue. And for anybody who's just watching it for that monologue, I'm going to say turn the video off now. Because what I'm going to turn into is a bit of a fanboy over the film Equilibrium. I'm going to explain why I think a lot of people think it's poop or have never heard of it, or have heard of it and never seen it. Right. Right. Here's my theory. It's a good one, I promise you. Equilibrium came out in 2002, and a lot of other great films and franchises were kicking off around the early 2000s into 2002 and beyond. And I think that drowned out Equilibrium as a film because nobody was looking for it. And when it was released, it sort of just appeared and disappeared because it was up against films like Born Identity, Road to Perdition, City of God, The Pianist, The Gangs of New York, Catch Me If You Can, Spider-Man, Chamber of Secrets, Attack of the Clones, Two Towers, 28 Days Later, and Barbie is Rapunzel. And that's just 2002. There was films released in the years either side, such as Matrix Reloaded, Fellowship of the Ring, Harry Potter, Cold Mountain, Finding Nemo, $1 Million Baby, The Machinist, and that was just, they were the years either side. So inside of that list, you've got 3 major franchises, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars. Oh, Matrix as well. Who could forget The Matrix? This film is probably going to be compared to one film franchise of all time, and that's The Matrix, because of its look and style. Which actually gets me quite smoothly on to my next point, which is this film's look and feel and sound and setting. Unfortunately, it's not very unique or new. It's got a lot of the tropes of other big film areas of its time, such as the future dystopian, post-apocalyptic atmosphere and setting with the whole big overlord controlling the masses and controlling the minions, and then one man rises up and causes a revolution. That's something that all of them are in there. I mean, the last Matrix film is called Revolutions, even though it's got nothing to do with revolutions. Anyway, you get my point. Its look also consists of a lot of the things that are also well used inside of that area, such as long leather jackets, shades, dramatic posing, and twin pistols. It doesn't have anything which says, hey, look at me, I'm new, which is unfortunate because it pulls all of these things off rather quite well. Now, it's actually seeming like I'm properly dissing this film. I'm not. But there's one more thing I have to say. It's action scenes. And I'm going to focus on one in particular. It's basically a copy and paste of the Matrix's lobby scene where Neo and Trinity go around all the pillars, shooting things up, killing loads of guards. Been awesome and been fantastic. There is a scene in Equilibrium where basically that happens, just with a few minor tweaks. A, there's no Trinity, and B, it's not as good. I'm sorry, it's not. He walks down the middle, throws some guns out and shoots loads of people wearing helmets. And that's about it. It's meant to be really big. And you know what? If The Matrix hadn't have done it first, it probably would have worked. And one final thing. It replaces bullet dodging, which is, instead of having the which is part of the Matrix thing and inspired films for years to come, Equilibrium replaces that with a man taking out his frustrations on Apple Helpline by walking down an office and shooting the thing up. I'll let you decide which one is cool. Now, I've dissed this film quite a bit. Now, I'm going to get onto the things that make this film good and move away from its very copy and paste sort of aesthetic and styling, and that is not just the Sean Bean deaths. Honest. Now I'm going to list a few things off that make it better than films like The Matrix, or the Star Wars franchises, or fucking Harry Potter. Equilibrium is full, like actually full, of consistently good writing. It's got some terrific lines in it, such as the Sean Bean monologue. Then the fight scene between him and his partner. They're all fantastically written scenes. And unlike The Matrix and Harry Potter and Star Wars, it's got consistently good acting, because this came out when the Harry Potter films were still in their younger years, so the bigger named actors, the classic British actors that absolutely ram this film to the brim, all can act, but the main characters, Hermione, Ron and Harry, can't. At this point in time, they're still crap actors. No offense to them, they can act now, but at this point in time, they're crap. In Star Wars, I'm sure you'll agree, if you've ever seen the prequel series, there's a lot to be desired, mainly down to the fact that Attack of the Clones was...
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Not a good film. I'm a Star Wars fan, and I will admit that. And The Matrix had this weird sort of dialogue going, which didn't...
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix.
...work sometimes. Especially in some of the scenes that didn't have Hugo Weaving in them. Because he nails every single line.
I can taste your stink. And every time I do, I fear that I've somehow been infected by it. It's repulsive. Isn't it?
He's a guy who can act. That's my fact of the day. I'm also now going to say the action scenes. They're all fantastic. You can see exactly what is going on and are still drawn in because the music in the background's fantastic. The stuff that's happening on the screen is great. And you're really drawn in because you can follow the action scenes. It's not just shaky cam and heavy breathing, you know, where you're looking at it going, I'm sure I should be enjoying this, but I don't know why. Bourne films, I'm looking at you. Because in the first Bourne Identity film, this happens. And I'm sure it's great. And it was a good fight scene. It's just, if you can tell me what's going on in that action scene, you are doing really well. You shouldn't have to look at somebody and say, so this is what happened. No, that you should have an action scene where you go, well, that was an action scene, and we saw the action instead of many, many jump cuts and many, many camera shakes and some heavy breathing thrown into boot. Again, love the Bourne films, except for the last one, the fourth one, Bourne, which was shit. I'm going to diss it again. I've just remembered one scene, one very, very bad scene, which is the scene that will probably have put a lot of people off the film, which is the puppy murder. Don't put puppy murder in a film if you want to draw in an audience. Just saying. Kill cats instead. The only film I can think of where a puppy dies and pulls it off is John Wick, and that's a high bar to set. So, to summarise, Equilibrium. Great film, good setting, bit generic. A solid 7 out of 10 film that is quite rewatchable. With a good take on action, dystopian future, and a really interesting way of showing how a dictator could control people through removing emotions. But personally, emotions aren't what make humans dangerous. Emotions are how we feel, not what we want to do. This is going to be slightly philosophical now. If you're going to control the population by making them basically drones who go in and go out, do their work, and survive under instruction, you remove imagination. Because our imaginations, the things that make us go, oh, what if, or I can do this, is what makes us do a thing. Removing emotions basically turns you into a psychopath, because you still imagine things, but you can't imagine any bad outcomes, because everything you think about a thing is just you doing it, which is what psychopaths feel, more or less. They say, okay, I'm just going to go out and murder a person. They feel nothing about it, and they go out and murder a person. Or somebody who just can't imagine negative outcomes, or can't feel negative outcomes. There'll be no pleading from the person who's being attacked, because they just won't care, they won't feel fear, they'll just accept their death, and you will just have lots and lots of bad things happening, and nobody giving a shit. That's my opinion on that. You remove the imagination, because the ability to fantasize and the ability to dream is what makes us as a species fantastic and amazing, yet also extremely dangerous. And on an off note, I think the only reason I got this request is because me and Sean Bean are both from the same city, Sheffield. I think the only thing they wanted to see was to see if my accent and behaviours fitted in with his. I don't know if it worked, and I don't know if it came out the way they expected, but I hope it did well anyway. There's a very high chance that the same person may request that I do the Boromir death from Lord of the Rings, because Sean Bean again, and also it's actually another scene where Sean Bean dies and does something really well. It's either that or they're going to have me do all the bastard compilation. And if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link into it below. It's just Sean Bean saying bastard for a couple of minutes. It's great. Okay, I'm going to say that's me finalised now. Done. Over. Finished. Bye, and let's see what I do next.